Galatria.
Welcome to How to Build Entertainment Breakthroughs Using Generative AI and the Cloud. Please welcome to the stage, Samira Bakhtiar.
All right. Hello, Las Vegas. How's everyone doing? Yeah? You good? All right. Oops. That was too soon. Let me start with a quick introduction. If I haven't met you, I'm Samira Bakhtiar. I'm the general manager of our Media, Entertainment, Games, and Sports Industry Business Unit at AWS. And today I'm very excited to be moderating a panel and providing a presentation on how we can build entertainment breakthroughs leveraging the cloud and generative AI. In a few minutes, I'm going to be joined on this stage by Gérard, Ira, Devin, and Arni, and they're going to be sharing the stories on how they've been leveraging the cloud and generative AI to create real impact for Prime Video, for PBS, and for Cosm. But before I invite them to the stage, I wanted to take a moment to really ground us on what's occurring in the industry. And let's start with some of the trends that we're seeing. Now, the entertainment industry has always been a leader when it comes to technology adoption. From the dawn of cinema to today's AI-driven era, innovation has always been in our lifeblood. And today, we're seeing 4 major disruptions that are really challenging the status quo. The first is around changing consumer behavior. This is primarily being driven by younger audiences really having a desire for different types of content mediums. And this is putting pressure, accelerating the convergence that we're seeing across traditional linear and broadcast services, now being complemented very robustly by a maturing streaming segment. This means that we're seeing more live events, more political coverage, as well as more sports showing up on these digital platforms. The second major technology disruptor that we are seeing is this notion of convergence. So what do I mean by that? What I'm talking about when I talk about tech convergence is this notion of acceleration around cloud computing, generative AI, as well as purpose-built services that help with media and entertainment and games. When these things come together, this convergence, companies are able to come to market with product propositions faster than they've ever been able to do before in the past. So you're seeing startups launch new product propositions and really delight customers, and you're seeing more established, traditional technology companies taking note and wanting to follow suit. Now, as these things come together, audiences are demanding more interactive and more immersive and much more personalized experiences. So how can a traditional company meet that moment? Well, we're seeing companies like Roblox bring live concerts into their games. We're witnessing companies like IMAX streaming sporting events around the world, and we're witnessing streamers now provide much more curated and personalized recommendations across their streaming services. Just look at what Max, Prime Video, and Tubi have done. Now, most importantly, I think the biggest disruptor that the industry is now witnessing as a result of these factors is this notion of intellectual property expansion. I've heard some customers talk about this as IP 360, but what this really comes down to is every organization out there is trying to look for ways to be able to take their first-party data and create interactive and interconnected, data-driven decisions associated to it. How can we take our intellectual property, breathe new life into it, and have it show up into new forums based off of the proprietary insights that we may possess as a company? So this notion of intellectual property expansion is a disruptor, but it's also an opportunity, which is the perfect segue to the next slide, which is while those disruptors may seem like obstacles, we firmly believe that these are opportunities for companies who are willing to embrace them. And let me tell you why. The entertainment industry last year hit $1 trillion in revenue. 35% of that came from online games, and 25% of that came from games. Excuse me, 35% of that came from online video, and 25% of that came from games. Now, this is being propelled by 5.8 billion mobile consumers leveraging and engaging with content everywhere they go. I mentioned beforehand that consumer behavior is also changing, right? Gen Z specifically, 47% of them prefer social and user-generated content over that of traditional forms of entertainment. This is followed by games, as well as music and podcasts. Traditional lean-back experiences is not even in the top 4 preferences that they have. So how do media companies take note of this? Now, gaming specifically is a global phenomenon. When I heard this stat for the first time, it was shocking. 3.5 billion people are playing games every single week. That's nearly 1 in every 2 people on this planet. And media companies are taking note. This is a real opportunity. Now, all of this introduces a very interesting paradox. With so much out there, our attention spans are decreasing. However, our desire and our demand for more interactive, more immersive, more engaging content is only accelerating. And we're witnessing many of our customers take note of this. They realize that it's no longer sufficient to be good at one type of medium. They are diversifying. They're taking their content, their intellectual property. They're creating streaming services to complement their broadcast feeds. They're developing games with their proprietary content. They're looking at ways to produce live events in order to create real stickiness and branding moments, right? So the message is very clear. When you look at these disruptors and you look at these habits and these trends and the opportunity that's currently in front of us, the future of entertainment is multidimensional, it's personalized, and it's more engaging than ever. Now, as we move away from the state of the industry and we now have all of these trends that I've hit on, I think it's also important to take stock of what AWS has been able to do, working backwards from the needs of our customers. This is my favorite slide in the entire presentation deck because I really think it talks to our rich history, 15 years of serving some of the largest broadcasters, streamers, content creation, creatives, film providers, game developers in the world. And it all started in 2008 when we launched Amazon CloudFront. 1 year after we launched that CDN service, we provided streaming support for streaming as well as audio, meeting the demands of the industry. Then in 2015, we acquired Elemental. Anyone know Elemental here in the audience? Yes. So 2 years after that acquisition, we launched AWS Elemental Media Services, providing broadcast quality transcoding, encoding, packaging to the cloud, something that had historically never been done. In 2016, we also launched GameLift Server. This server allowed for game distributors around the world to be able to host some of the world's most demanding games, where we had tens of millions of concurrent users playing at the same time. GameLift helped to be able to meet that moment. From 2020 to 2024, we continued to iterate and work backwards from the needs of our customers. We realized that uncompressed video transport was something that was necessary. We realized with this mass amount of first-party data that many of our customers really needed to garner better customer insights on what was happening, and they needed advanced advertising solutions. So we responded, and we launched AWS Cloud Digital Interface, we launched AWS Elemental Media Tailor, and we also launched AWS Entity Resolution to be able to meet that moment for live streaming and advanced advertising solutions. And arguably, the last 18 months have been the most launches that we've seen. We have had AWS Deadline Cloud launch, which has helped focus on slashing rendering time from weeks to minutes. We have been able to launch game lift streams. Just 2-3 weeks ago, I was at the Game Developer Conference in San Francisco, where we launched this service, which really meets the need of game distributors around the world. We launched containers in Game Lift. We also focused most recently on AWS Elemental Media Live Anywhere, which allows for us to have physical encoders on-prem, but all of it managed in the cloud. And just this week at NAB, we announced that we're supporting SMPTE 2110 support for it. So this slide is really meant to represent that we're constantly taking those insights from our customers, we're working backwards, and we're launching the services that are necessary for them to be able to create content, to connect those workloads, and to be able to captivate audiences. And while that history may be impressive, it's nothing in comparison to the outcomes that we've been able to deliver for the customers and the industry that we serve. Over 1 billion people receive their streaming content through these AWS services, and over 750 million people are playing games every single month based off of that same service set. These are incredible outcomes that we're able to deliver for the industry, and we couldn't be more proud. And as you look at this slide and you look back at 2017 when we first partnered with Prime Video to launch their first Thursday night football event, to the launches of Disney Plus and Max and Peacock, to our ability to be able to render thousands of visual effects for blockbusters like Lord of the Rings and Avatar, these moments really come into sight. And this last example on this slide is one that I love the most, which is the Epic Games and the concert that they produced just a few months ago with Snoop Dogg. It was called Chapter 2, The Prelude. And they were able to bring a live concert in the in-game experience and had over 10 million people in the game, millions more watching on digital propositions around the world, and then live events occurring right there in Times Square. So I think this is a phenomenal example of our ability to be able to enable customer innovation and meet this moment of convergence with tech to allow for these beautiful moments to occur for our customers. Now, speaking about the future, right? Generative AI has been all of the buzz, and entertainment companies are very much taking notice of this. And so I want to talk about some of the practical ways in which customers are leveraging generative AI to enhance those experiences and their media operations. But first, I want to give you a very, very quick primer on how AWS looks at our generative AI stack. At the bottom of this stack, which is purple, we really focus on infrastructure. This is purpose-built chipsets that are focused on training and inference. These are our customers. These are made for our customers who really want to build out their own foundational models or large language models. At the middle of this stack, we're really focused on the tools that help to build generative AI applications. Here is where you'll find Amazon Bedrock. I'll talk about that in a moment, but largely that service provides access to first-party and third-party foundational models. And at the top of the stack, we're really focused on applications to boost productivity. This is where you'll find Amazon Q for developer and Amazon Q for business. You can think of this as a generative AI assistant to be able to help accelerate those workloads. So when you look at this and you think through, okay, well, how can like a media organization leverage this or a sports league? We're seeing some very interesting ways in which these services are being leveraged. Specifically, we've seen amazing outcomes with the F1, with the PGA Tour, with Bundesliga and NFL. And it's really around these areas that I'm showcasing on the slide here. They include brand-consistent art asset generation, metadata extraction, video semantic search, media operations agents, and contextual advertising. Now, I want to talk to you a bit more about two of these in detail, including video semantic understanding and media operations agents, but I do encourage you, please go to the AWS booth if you want to learn more about these areas, because we have so much rich demo and use case to share with you around the opportunity to have multi-channel monetization. So let's focus on video understanding. Over the course of the last year, I have consistently cited that I believe that video semantic understanding is going to be a strategic unlock for media organizations around the world. The ability for them to be able to access their rich archives, we're talking about decades of content that they possess, and understand what's in it, will allow them to be able to create very delightful fan engagement opportunities, but also cultivate new product propositions or license that content in new locations, right? Really the hallmark of this notion of localization and the opportunity to extend IP. So here we're focused on these 4 use cases that you can see on the slide: ad break detection, contextual advertising, metadata extraction, and semantic search. And AWS, over the course of the last 2 years, has been highly focused on some of the services and solutions that will enable these efforts, including media to cloud, a guidance that we launched 2 years ago, which at this show is on its 5th revision, which provides the ability to automate ad break detection, be able to automate the extraction of metadata, and as a result of the 5th version of its iteration this week, we now have semantic understanding and embedding as part of that guidance. We also have Media Lake on AWS and Amazon Nova. I'm going to talk about Nova in a minute, but first I want to give you a demonstration on Media Lake on AWS.
Media and entertainment companies frequently have issues not being able to find assets that are usually disconnected across multiple data silos. When they do find the media asset, they don't know what's in it and have to rely on a file name or static metadata to try and understand what the media asset is. That's where Media Lake on AWS comes in. Using Media Lake connectors, you can attach multiple S3 buckets, creating a unified search space that allows you to search for media across all of your S3 buckets. Traditionally, you would use keywords like a Safari. Here, you can see that the closest assets using keywords are soccer images that I've created using Amazon Nova. Now, let's try that search again using 12 Labs Marengo model, integrated with Media Lake on AWS, allowing us to search multiple asset repositories across image, audio, and video, giving the results we are looking for. When going into a media asset, Media Lake gives you a new way of understanding your media. Media Lake understands what you're looking at and provides you other media assets that are closely related or are revisions, allowing you to act on and monetize your media.
So that use case and that demonstration there, I think, clearly demonstrates something that all of us have always wanted to do, which is figure out where our content is that exists in multiple different S3 buckets or different storage tiers across different organizations, and he has created that with ease. So if you want to learn more about Media Lake and how that can fast track some of the video understanding use cases, I highly recommend you dive a bit deeper with us in the booth. Now, I've mentioned Amazon Bedrock a few times. What is Amazon Bedrock? Amazon Bedrock is that middle layer of the stack I just showed you, and it's a fully managed generative AI service that provides powerful tools that assist you with accessing first-party and third-party foundational models. It allows for model customization through RAG. It also has agents, no-code agents that you can build to be able to activate very complex tasks on your behalf. It also has the privacy and the security and the data governance and the cost controls and the management that you would expect from an enterprise-grade service. That's a hallmark of how AWS operates. Now, I've talked about first-party and third-party models. We have said for a very long time that there is never going to be one foundational model to rule them all, and that's because different foundational models are good at different things. And while we have our own first-party models, we've invested heavily in third-party models as well. These include Anthropic, Meta, AI21, DeepSeek, just to name a few. And I'm very excited to announce that in sticking with this theme of customer choice, that 12 Labs, announcing here for the very first time at NAB, is going to be coming soon to Bedrock. You can clap because that's awesome. So this sticks with the theme of video understanding at scale and the ability for customers to have choice in how they get there. 12 Labs provides a fully managed serverless model, which will allow for Pegasus as well as Marengo to be accessible through the Amazon Bedrock service. And if you're looking at this and you're like, well, why does this matter? This matters because now you can really understand and discover your video with greater ease. Just think about your ability to be able to search a text document. You Control F, you type in a keyword, you find exactly what you're looking for. With 12 Labs, you can do exactly that. It'll have deep video understanding without requiring any type of predefined labeling. And we're so excited to welcome 12 Labs as another foundational model that's accessible through Bedrock. Now let's quickly talk about Nova. So I talked a bit about our third-party models. I talked about the generative AI fully managed service that Amazon Bedrock provides. What are the models that we have? Now, Amazon Nova foundational models were launched by Andy Jassy at reInvent 2024. They're a state-of-the-art multimodal foundational model that provides frontier-level intelligence. And we've focused on 6 to date. We've got some more coming soon, and I'll let someone else tease those out for you in a minute. But going from ascending orders of complexity and cost, we start with the Nova Micro model, which is a text-only model, meaning you input text, you get text out. Amazon Nova Lite, Amazon Nova Pro, Amazon Nova Premier are all multimodal models, meaning you can input text, image, or video, and then you'll receive text back. And again, they're ascending from lowest cost and lowest latency to our more capable multimodal models that can handle more advanced reasoning. Nova Premier will be the most capable model, and it's going to be launching soon. Now, relative to creative content, many of our customers have been focused on being able to cultivate creative assist in the pre-visualization process of a production, or they may want artwork for marketing campaigns, or to help expand some of their advertising pursuits. In that case, I'd really recommend Amazon Nova Canvas and Amazon Nova Reel, which help with image and video generation, respectively. And rather than going on and on about it, I wanted to just show you a simple prompt I used last night. It took about 3 minutes. And I wrote, create a wide-angle aerial shot of a convention center in Las Vegas with a woman with long black hair wearing a gray suit standing in front of an audience. The audience is facing her, and they're clapping, all right? Behind her on the screen, you can see Amazon Nova. People in the audience are excited and joyful as they realize that Amazon continues to invest in choice. So hopefully you get a kick out of that. It was pretty realistic, an easy prompt for a non-engineer. So I encourage you, just go to nova.amazon.com and you can start playing with it as well. So with the last few minutes that I have, I want to talk about agents. So another great feature of Amazon Bedrock is Amazon Bedrock Agents. What is an agent? An agent is a software program that leverages different foundational models to be able to interact with its environment. This means it could help with collecting data. This could mean that it's working on complex tasks. Ultimately, it's going to achieve an outcome based off of a predefined goal that you give it. And one of the great features that we have within Amazon Bedrock agents is that these agents are very intelligent. They're able to reflect, they're able to reason, they can observe, and they can act based off of those goals that you give them. And another great feature that we have as part of this service is that we support multiple agents to be able to really tackle some of the very complex tasks that you would see. Now, to help ground us on an example of this, we worked with an engineer on our team named James Wu to be able to cultivate a demonstration to show how we could bring together multiple different agents to be able to address some of the needs that we would typically see in a media operation. So if you're out there and you work in a network operations center or a media operations center, this next demonstration is for you.
Generative AI has transformed how we analyze video content, dramatically accelerating what was once a time-consuming process. But still, while these systems excel at initial analysis and content understanding, the final steps, such as precise data formatting, meeting compliance requirements, still remain very challenging. But this is where an agentic system leveraging multiple AI agents working together can help bridging the final gap. Today, I will demonstrate such a system, creating an accurate and compliant synopsis from this short film clip you see on the screen, all leveraging the power of Amazon Bedrock. First, I'm going to use Bedrock data automation to quickly extract raw insights from this video, such as technical specification, video level summary, as well as chapter and shot level details. Then I'm going to use Bedrock multi-agent collaboration and trying to turn these raw insights into the final compliant output. Let's take a look at how the system reasons through this particular problem, starting with our supervised agent initializing the entire process. Identify this is a film content. Then it's going to create a plan and delegating different tasks to different downstream sub-agents, such as a film agent that is specialized in film lookup as well as celebrity detection. Once it has accumulated all the right information, it will then trigger the synopsis agent to generate the actual metadata and synopsis. And then finally, having the QC agent to perform the quality and compliance check. Notice the intelligence that's built into this multi-agent system. It can reason through issues, self-correct if it needs to, all to make sure the final response is in the correct JSON output format, as well as meeting all the compliance requirements it needs to be.
So it's pretty remarkable. That would have taken 2 or 3 different people to be able to accomplish that same task across that workload. So just think about how many endless possibilities are associated with that type of agentic use case. Now, I want to conclude here by talking about the power that many of our customers have been able to see based off of this. Now, if you're walking around NAB this week, you can see that there's a ton of activation that AWS is doing with Formula One. We specifically wanted to work with Formula One because they've been such an innovative customer. They have broadcast and production workloads that they're leveraging AWS services for. We are helping them with the ingestion of over 1 million different data points out of every race that they serve. And they also have worked with us on video understanding at scale. We've worked with them to be able to ingest over 4 petabytes of historical content. Like, just think about the rich history that they have over the decades of race coverage that they have. To be able to ingest that into the cloud, they now have access to over 100,000 hours of race footage. Very, very powerful as you think about how they want to really augment their broadcaster experience, their commentator experience, but also as they want to really think through different product propositions and how they want to enhance perhaps their episodic content in the future. So very powerful use case, and we're very, very delighted to be able to have so many activations with F1 here today. So with that, let's talk a bit more about the customers. And with that, I want to invite our innovation team and panel to come on. So if I can ask for Gérard, Ira, Devin, and Arni to join me on stage. We'd love to hear more about all the use cases you're using. Okay, cool. I think, you want to come over here? Okay, cool. You want to sit here? Okay. Oh, one of the places. Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead. There you go. Sorry. All right, awesome. You excited to hear from them? Yeah? I threw a lot of information at you. You want to see how they're actually using it? This is your moment. All right, cool. So let's start just with a quick round of introductions. Who are you and what do you do? Can we start with you?
Oh, sure. So Ira Rubenstein, I'm the Chief Digital and Marketing Officer for PBS, and what I do is I oversee all our distribution and marketing across broadcast and digital. Yes, PBS has a very robust digital offering that many people know about, but it's all on AWS.
Yeah, really happy to be here. My name is Arni. I lead a team called the Cloud and the AI Innovation Team. We are a global team of technologists that work very closely with customers, trying to see where they are on the AI journey and how we can speed them up. What blockers do they have? What cutting edge research is coming, and how do we take that research and make it apply in real corporate settings?
Awesome.
I'm Devin Poolman. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer for Cosm. I oversee our technology and technology strategy all the way from the on-the-ground production work that our team does, the distribution into our venues, working with AWS, and all the touch points with our customers, both in our venues and also on our B2B side.
Awesome.
I'm Gérard Medioni. I'm a Vice President and Distinguished Scientist at Prime Video. And my role is to look at the technology stack, all the way from making movies and series to understanding the movies and to distributing the movie and recommending it.
Awesome. Well, I'm so delighted to have you up on stage with me. And as you heard backstage, I went really deep into the different trends that we're seeing across the industry and some of the ways in which customers are leveraging what some may look at as disruptions or challenges as real opportunities to reinvent themselves. So my first question centers around how are you, as business leaders across your organization, leveraging the technology to really help your organizations increase their reach, stay very relevant, right, in this new disruptive era, and ultimately increase the revenue across your organizations? So reach, relevance, revenue. Devin, can I come with you first?
Yeah, absolutely. Reach is a really important part of what we do.
Yep.
Really, on behalf of our content partners, whether those are the sports leagues, the teams, the broadcasters, giving them a whole new outlook, a whole new outlet, a way to reach their fans in unique ways through our Cosm venues. That also, frankly, extends to not just our sports partners, but even our content creators, artists who have been building immersive experiences previously that now we've given them a whole new place to have that come to life with our Cosm venues as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And then can I come to you, Gérard?
Yeah. So customers they are fairly overwhelmed with the number of streaming apps. And each one has its own content. They have your customer profile. They have the recommendation engine. They even have a different payment and a different password. So it makes it quite difficult for a customer to actually find the content they want to watch.
Right.
So at Prime Video, we're trying to be the one-stop destination as a hub where with one password, one profile, one payment method, you can access all the content and find it. And the type of content that we're providing is a content that comes out of our Amazon studios, both for the movies and the series, but also the content that we acquire, and then the content from our channel partners. You can watch Max, you can watch Apple TV, and we also have sports. And again, we'll talk more about it, but we have special events. And finally, we have over 500 free channels supported by ads.
I mean, those are some significant challenges, and I know in a minute you're going to walk through some of the ways in which we're addressing them. Ira, I want to come to you too.
Yeah,
yes.
Sure. So obviously, public media, our mission is to get quality educational content out to Americans across all platforms. I'm pleased that we just recently launched on the Amazon Prime service. They're carrying all 300 so of our local stations for free. And we're leveraging technology so that we can provide experiences that entertain, inform people, and then also generate support for their local station through donations, of course. Viewers like you, thank you very much. That's very real. And through that, we have a product called Passport that if you support your local station, you get access to a library of content. So that's your revenue question.
There you go.
And so, of course, we're looking at all sorts of tools and technology so that we know more about you, so that we can engage you with content that you are going to find interesting, that hopefully then surface content from your local station that will then generate support for that station and, of course, the public media in general.
And Sesame Street.
And
I love them. By the way, I affectionately call this sweater my Big Bird sweater, and I just put that together right now. And here we are. Okay, so now I want to talk about some of the ways in which we are looking at all these changes that are taking place and really leaning into the opportunities that you see as business executives. Gérard, backstage, we were talking about some of the industry firsts that Prime Video has had, from the first Black Friday game to the first coverage of a presidential election. It's really hard to believe that we did that, but it's incredible to see that milestone. Devin at Cosm, I know you are really looking at different ways to reinvent the way in which live experiences can be rehad. And then at PBS, we just talked a lot about some of the challenges that you're seeing in the ways in which you're looking to reinvent. So talk to me a bit about, got these challenges, what are the opportunities that you see? And Gérard, I'd like to start with you.
Sure. I mean, we see sports and Thursday Night Football in particular as a wonderful opportunity to create a differentiated viewing experience for the customer. When we ask customer what they want, they say, well, I want to see the point of view of the quarterback. I want to see statistics. So we are using the AWS Next Gen Stats, for example, but we go further than that. I'm going to show you some examples, but the idea to not only show what happened, but what's going to happen, which is predictive analytics. By the way, this has resonated very well with our customers. I mean, we had an average viewership this year of 13.2 million viewers per game.
Wow.
And now this is 11% more than what we had last year, and 38% more than we had when we started in the year before. So it is resonated. So let me try to show you one example of what we call defensive alert. What is a defensive alert? You as a quarterback, you see this line of people that are going to try to go and prevent you from doing what you're trying to do. We're going to show you the one that are likely to rush you. And that's what we call defensive alert. So we put a red circle over it. If we can have the video for this. Here we go.
Extra rush. And they're going to end the game with a sack.
Yeah, I'm from LA. I was not happy about this one. You should really have listened to us in there. So this is one example where we have analyzed all of the games for the past few seasons, and we use machine learning to figure out who are the rushers that are going to come and go after the quarterback. Another one is defensive vulnerability. So this is a reverse. You're the quarterback. Where, if I'm going to throw the ball, where should I be throwing it? What is the zone? And it changes as the formation changes. So we call that defensive vulnerabilities. And let me show you another example of this one. So those are the squares.
Pressure. Wide open. Touchdown.
See?
Mark Andrews.
We know what's going to happen. And this is really getting the viewer into the game. So we are really excited about the future of this type of technology, not just for football, but for a number of other games.
Well, I know we're going to come to you, Devin, next, but I just want to say how you really enhancing that core viewing experience through this really speaks to this notion of creating that interactivity that's going to draw in the fans in a very robust way. And from multiple customers, I'm constantly hearing their desire to want to really enhance that core viewing experience, and it's incredible to see what you've done. So Devin, let's come to you. The question again was the opportunity to lean into those opportunities.
Yeah, and our opportunity from day one was centered around this idea of what we call shared reality. Shared reality is about bringing in the AR, VR, XR, the kind of reality technology suites, and how do we bring them into a way that at the same time embraces the experiential economy, the fact that we all like to experience things together.
Mm-hmm.
So that communal aspect along with the technology, to be able to deliver on that promise of sitting courtside at a game, or sitting ringside, or pitch side at a Premier League soccer match, right? And that has been the anchor for us, and in order to do that, we've been building this out for several years with not just the on-the-ground production capabilities to capture at 8 and 10.5K capture resolutions, distribute those to the cloud and into our venues, and also to VR partners and other distribution outlets, but then also the whole stack on the venue side. So thinking about the experience not just as a box with technology that's going to wow people, but what does the overall fan experience look like? How do we bring in the storytelling from our partners who, they want to do more and more, advanced analytics and layer that into the experience? How do we bring all these pieces together to really create the ultimate fan experience? And we're doing that live with the biggest and best live sporting events, week in and week out. And then we're augmenting that with data visualization and graphics and celebratory moments. And I think we have a little clip, because if you haven't been there, it's really hard to even understand what it is in video. But I promise you it's amazing in person. Let's see if we can kind of get a glimpse of it here. So again, that is happening live at 12K in front of you. You know, it's a 90-foot LED dome. It is absolutely incredible to be there, and you know, that's the opportunity.
I can't stop smiling because my team said, "Hey, we think you should meet the team from Cosm," and I'm like, "What do they do?" I went to their website and I thought you were actually at the game. It took me a few minutes to realize that it was an immersive experience. So that's a testament to you.
Yep, that is one of the amazing parts about it. It's the best selfie station in the world.
There
right?
you go. Yeah, I love it. Love a good selfie. So Ira, let's come to you.
Yeah. So. Look, it's the big challenges, of course, with public media. Back in the day, you were with 4 broadcasters, and the one TV station looked like another. And the quality of the broadcast was all the same. When you get to the digital world now, and you're dealing with apps, you know, we're being held up and compared to Netflix or Hulu or anyone else, and I guarantee you our budget's at the fraction of theirs. But the consumer still needs to have a good experience. And so we're always trying to do things at scale and drive innovation. And we're fortunate to have great partners with AWS. We just completed one project with the innovation team on a metadata project, which is really building upon an earlier project that we did on our recommendation engine. So right now, it's built on AWS Bedrock. When you get to the PBS app or homepage, you can get recommended videos for you in particular. And then the metadata project, what we just completed, was, again, what we need is we need as much efficiency as possible because we don't have the resources for the people. And what the machine learning generated was going through the video, going through the transcripts, generating moods, besides all the other metadata tags, themes, topics, actors, et cetera. And we're taking all of that metadata now and we're feeding that back into the recommendation engine so that that will lead to a better recommendation engine and hopefully someday even kind of your own customized live linear feed based on your viewing habits, when you're watching, at what time. It's kind of making your own basic local PBS station based on your habits. And I think I even have a clip, not as fancy as those, but we got a short little clip.
Is Big Bird going to do that? Scandalous. That was a very good clip.
Thank you.
Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for sharing those insights on the opportunities. And I think the videos tell a very compelling story. Now, I want to come to my main man sitting in the middle. Arni, you've been patiently waiting. I was going to ask him, Arni works at AWS, so I was going to ask him, how are you increasing your reach and your relevance and your revenue? And we thought it would be a little bit awkward if I started with that question. So we figured we'd come back to generative AI. So Arni, arguably there's no one in the organization that's seeing more and engaging more with customers across AWS. You saw in my primer beforehand where we talked a bit about Bedrock and agentic use cases. Agentic right now is all the rage. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the practical ways in which media and entertainment companies can start to use those agentic agents to be able to create some real meaningful results?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I did not have a video, so I feel left out. Kind of, even though the video that Ira just showed was done by the team, so I'm really excited to see it come alive and enrich metadata that we all can benefit from when you search PBS the next time. I mean, if you're in the AI space, or even if you're not in the AI space, there's a frenzy around agents right now. Like, I cannot walk into a customer session and not be ambushed by, tell me about agents. What are they doing? What are they not doing, right? But it's important to contextualize how we got to this stage. So till 2022, give or take, AI was all about predicting stuff. Is it a dog? Is it a cat? Which, by the way, are the foundation of the internet and happen to be for AI as well. And then from 2022, 23, 24 was a lot about assistive AI, where AI would come in and help you. Right? How many of us wake up nowadays and spend a day without talking to a chatbot, asking it questions? Hey, I'm going to NAB, who's going to show up here, right? And before you had to do a lot of searches, but now you can get to a quick Q&A. So late 2024 is when really the agentic idea began, and primarily because these models were getting better and better, where you're not just asking it a question anymore, you can actually start to give it small tasks. So we're now in the collaborative era, right? Agent is a very weird word. I like to think of it more a collaborative era where AI is now able to come in and kind of do your job a little bit. So rather than ask it a question, you're like, hey, can you create a report for me? As against to searching a bunch of things, asking questions and assembling the report by yourself, you can come in and say, hey, I'm going to the NAB, I'm going to meet these kind of people, create a doc that describes how do I prep for this session, and a series of software agents wake up, they speak to a series of models behind the scenes, they understand where the data is within your organization, and then produce a report, right? So it's pretty amazing how you can go from predicting stuff, and by the way, none of that goes away, right? I mean, none of it replaces the prior art, you build on top. In fact, you just heard Gérard speak about predictive AI, right? But real-time, live predictive AI, enriching the experience. But agents are all about, completing tasks for you. Where we see within the enterprise, it's still early days. I'd say late 24 is when we saw a lot of momentum. 25, without a doubt, there's been a ton of momentum. I'll look first horizontally, and then I'll go vertically. Horizontally being defined as any enterprise anywhere, not just a media enterprise. There's three major use cases. Use case number one, agents being used for call centers. Someone could be calling in a call center. Historically, you'd had to wait for someone to respond. You're chatting with someone, and the responses might take a long time. But these models have gotten so good that now you may not even know that it's a machine on the other side that's responding, taking care of your tasks, right? So these agents wake up and say, who's this person? Let me give a very thoughtful response and make sure this person has the exact answers they need without almost ever speaking to a human being, right? So that's conversational agents are really big. Second is mostly workflow agents. All organizations have a variety of workflows with many unnecessary human touch points. And I keep saying humans are amazing, but we are also the slowest middleware. We get in our own way sometimes, right? So are there touch points which are absolutely not needed, where it doesn't need the full advanced brain that always needs to be employed? So workflow agents are some of the second big use cases we see. And the third is software agents. I mean, the world of software development is just changing now as fast as, I've been in software for a very, very long time. I'm a computer scientist by training, and I've just been amazed at the amount of software that's being produced right now that all comes from agents. Now, coincidentally, the first agent that came out in software agents about a year ago was actually called Devin. This is the first human Devin I saw, right? But I only saw AI agents before. So when I saw the panel being set up, I'm like, are we going to invite an AI agent to this talk? I'm like, no, it's actually real human beings. So it's amazing. So software agents were the third big agents we saw. But in the media space, right now, you take those same things and break it down across the entire supply chain, from content creation, all the way in which storyboarding happens. Now you can essentially create a bunch of agents that can think creatively. Now in this case, you want there's a lot of talk about, oh my God, LLMs hallucinate. But when you're storyboarding, you want them to hallucinate, right? You want these agents to actually hallucinate and come up with creative ideas. So you've seen agents come around there. Search, if you take it right in the middle of the media supply chain, agents are being used heavily for search. Historically, search would just be a simple keyword, find me this. But now using agents, you can get much deeper. These agents can give you, it's called agentic RAG, is a formal word for it. If you're curious, you can look it up. So agents are being used in a lot of places. Highly recommend if you've not seen a live demo, please go to the AWS booth. James Wu and a few colleagues of mine have put together an amazing demo of how you can use agents in actual media workflows, right, in the media supply chain. So at a high level, just think of agents as collaborators. They're here to help, right? But I think by late 2025, all of us, just like how we ended 2024 with a chatbot next to us, even without knowing it, it became a part of our lives. I'm fairly confident by the end of 2025, we'll have a little collaborator helping us, hopefully doing our homework for us. Right?
So Arni, I want to ask a follow-up question, and I know the audience has various degrees of technical exposure, but there's been a lot of chatter around frameworks as well. Can you talk a little bit about that as well, MCP specifically, and how you look at frameworks? You just did a LinkedIn post the other day that I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, for the semi-technical, you don't need to be super technical for this anyway. But when you have these agents wake up to perform tasks, there's two major frameworks you want to be thinking of. How are these agents created to begin with? And there's a couple of popular frameworks. Bedrock has its own thing called Bedrock Agents. And there's a couple of very popular open source projects called Crew AI. In fact, I was at the conference on Friday in New York last week. And LangGraph, another popular open source framework, from Harrison Chase. There's many open source frameworks that have come out. But the second thing which is really important is when these agents wake up, they need to speak to a range of downstream systems. It could be where your videos are stored, where your where your metadata is housed. Now, how does this agent know which system to call? How does it know which data to go pick up? And that's where these intelligence comes in. And there's new protocols and standards that have come out called, MCP. It's called the Model Context Protocol that came out of Anthropic. We've been working very closely with them. But it's a way by which you can effectively surface all the data and all the systems you've created and now connect it with this new class of intelligence that's coming up. So these agents now can perform richer tasks than they could ever before. So there's a lot of talk. If you follow me on LinkedIn or go to my most recent LinkedIn post, we spoke a lot about what are we doing both in the open source space as well as the open standard space with MCP.
Yeah, well, I appreciate how much you've been posting and how much you've been focusing on demystifying and simplifying those concepts, so the work is incredible. Now, I recognize we went so deep, so let's come all the way back up to fan engagement. Devin, the question is for you. So can we talk a little bit more about what some of the driving forces have been around the ways in which you've been looking to engage with fans?
Yeah, it really comes down to that age-old example of trying to sit courtside at a basketball game, right? And how do we bring that into a world that is social?
Right.
And then the challenges that come out of that. Cosm has had a really interesting path. We actually built the company through acquisitions, so people generally don't know, but we're actually the world's largest planetarium company. We acquired a company called Evans & Sutherland 5 years ago. We power close to 800 planetariums and science centers all around the world. Why is that relevant? Well, a planetarium is effectively the world's first digital immersive theater. The goal is to take everybody to space, right? And now the jump from projection technology to LED and the application of it, as our team has done and built this out over the last few years, has provided the quality change and the utility now to deliver new different experiences, not just taking us to space together, but taking us to all around the world to the greatest sporting events, or to surf a big wave in Tahiti, which is a project we actually just launched as well.
Wow.
So that's kind of how we think about tackling these problems, right? Is building up the expertise that has this incredible heritage to now deliver these world-class experiences.
Now, I can't assume this was easy. I'm assuming you've had to face some significant challenges along the way.
Yeah, and really, challenges, opportunities, right? We have a 12K LED dome. It is very challenging for video to look great on that dome.
Yeah, I bet.
We started capturing at 8K live about 4 years ago now in Beijing, doing the live VR production work there. And at 8K on that dome, boy, it was incredible at the time. And in the steps and the improvements that we've made since then by pushing our workflows forward, by designing our own custom optics, by working with AI tools to improve our sharpening and denoise and all the other kind of tool sets that come to play to kind of improve that pipeline constantly. That has been kind of at the core of what we're doing, and that's why we always say, this is the worst you're ever going to see Cosm, because we keep getting better and better and better in terms of the quality, and that's a fun challenge we have.
That's incredible outlook. So we went deep on Gen AI, we went back into fan engagement. Now I want to come back to some of the practical use cases in which you're leveraging generative AI across media operations. Gerard, can we start with you? How are you at Prime Video leveraging some of the services and the tools to be able to create some impact for your organizations and for fans?
So, of course, we are using AI everywhere.
Right.
But specifically, our role, working backward from the customers, is how can we invent on their behalf? What can we do to enhance your viewing experience. And so one example that I can give you is you're going to watch season 2 of a show, and it comes probably 12 to 18 months later, and you don't really remember quite the plot, the story arc, and so on. So we came up with the notion of what if we could give you a recap. So we have done, in November, we came back with the X-ray recap, which allows you to kind of see the text. And textual form, we give it to you. But we said, what can't we do more? And what if we could create a video recap? So we take an entire season, let's say Bosch, 10 episodes, 450 minutes, and give you a 3-minute cinematic quality narrated video recap. And that allows you now to be in context for the next one. And I'm going to show you a 30-second clip of the Bosch Legacy Season 2 in preparation for Season 3. And think about what it takes to do this. If you do that with an agency, it takes about 3 weeks. We can do that automatically in a matter of hours, and this is coming soon. So let's watch 30 seconds of it.
In the gripping second season of Bosch Legacy, Harry Bosch finds himself entangled in a complex web of murder, corruption, and personal struggles.
Remind me again when you're gonna retire?
When people stop killing each other.
The season kicks off with a chilling event. Harry's daughter Maddie is abducted by Kurt Dockweiler. As Bosch frantically searches for Maddie, he clashes with official investigators.
We have to do this the right way. I don't.
With the help of Mo Bossi.
That stuff's classified. Since when does that slow you down?
So that just gives you an idea of, the whole thing is about 3 minutes, but think of what it takes to create this cinematic quality video recap. And again, only with Gen AI are we able to do this in a matter of hours.
It's incredible. I've never watched Bosch, but I'm going to now. I'm caught up. Ira, can we come to you?
Look, I think, in general, just speaking about Gen AI, there's the creativity component of AI and there's the execution. Obviously, AI can execute better than any of us, but I still think there's a human creativity component. I have to speak up for my fellow people who cut trailers. Obviously, the AI can generate. But what I think for us, specifically, whether it's chatbots and talking to consumers or having challenges, but I'm more excited about using it to analyze our data so we can have reports on what viewing habits are happening, what viewing is generating the most support for a local station, how you can tailor messages to people in real time as they're watching the content to generate support. Yeah. Secretly, my mission is to kill the pledge show. Because I think, if we can get the right message at the right time, at the right moment, and around the content that you really care about around public media, then I think that can generate significant support for a local station. And I think that's what I talk about, the execution part, but it takes the creativity to figure out how to pull that together and let the AI execute.
I love that, well said. Devin, anything you want to add?
Well, for us, and I think it's similar to themes you've heard here, AI is an approach to ultimately make it easier for creators to build for our platform. That's how we look at it. We look at what we've developed is really a platform for creators, a blank slate for them to develop content of all kinds. And if AI on one side can help make it high resolution, look better, look sharper, if it can make it easier for somebody's idea to go from their head to in CG or on the screen, those are big wins, and those are the areas that we're constantly looking at, not just in our own workflows, but also empowering our content creators.
Love it. So Arni, I want to come back to you. So we talked about agentic, we talked about frameworks. I gave a tee up on Amazon Nova. We announced 12 labs. Model choice is paramount. From your vantage point, how are you looking at the trends across models and anything that you think is interesting to share here with this audience that cares about M&E?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fortunate to be able to work with quite a few researchers at both Amazon, and we fund a lot of universities, and I mean, the amount of innovation happening in this space is nonstop. The investment happening in this space is nonstop. The things that are coming out, and they're also exciting, number one is these models are getting smarter and smarter. There's a new class of models coming out called thinking models or reasoning models, right? We announced them a couple of months ago, the Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And the way it works is you can go to the model and say, hey, here's a question, give me an answer, right? And it'll give you back an answer. Or you can say, here's a question, think before you answer. Take as long as you want. And then you can give it a duration, we call it a budget, right, engineers. And it'll come back and think through it and give you back a much deeper, much richer answer. It's almost like speaking to a human. So many times we go to a human and say, hey, think a little bit more, and the kind of example you'll get back and the kind of answer you'll get back is much richer. So I highly recommend you start looking at reasoning models. There's two major ones that are out there. DeepSeek, if you've heard about them, DeepSeek R1 specifically, and then Claude Sonnet 3.7 is a big thinking model, right? That's one class that is kicked off. The second is a lot of, again, agent-focused models. If you wanted to, book some tickets and you're too lazy to type everything out, you can just go in and say, hey, can you plan my vacation? Here's what I want to do. And it'll automatically pull up a browser and start to fill the browser in, complete your searches, book your hotels, ask you, along the way as needed. So these action models are becoming really popular, alongside with agent-focused models. Remember that LLMs, which is the foundation of a lot of what this new age AI is, the large language models, were designed for humans to be able to speak with AI. When you think about agents, now of course agents do also want to speak with humans, but a lot of times agents want to speak with agents. The minute we are out of the loop, they don't need to speak English anymore. They don't need to speak our language anymore. They can speak their own little language, whatever it is, right? So this new class of agent models are coming out, or action models are coming out. So Nova Act is one that we announced not too long ago. You should try it out if you've not seen it, right? It's the second class of models that have really, pushed the agent ecosystem pretty hard. The third one is speech. Most of the models, you type them out. There's some early speech that's come out. But these models have gotten really powerful. So on Amazon, we announced Alexa Plus not too long ago. So it's going to get rolled out fairly soon. So you should try it. But the amazing conversations you can have, the richness of the conversations you can have with Alexa, and then the speech models that power it is the third thing I'm really excited about. And the last one is you think of all these modalities, which is a formal word for this, is you have text in, image out, image in, video out, maybe, right? So you're always kind of limited in what format you can go in and what format you go out. But if you think about us as humans, that's not how we are. Sometimes we just look at each other, right? We just, we gesture each other. We can communicate. So why do we not have, hey, that's a text-only human. That's an image-only human. We don't say that, right? So humans are multimodal by nature. So the next thing I'm really excited about is an any-to-any model. And we'll be announcing that later this year, wherein you can basically throw anything at the model in any modality, and it'll respond back in any modality. And in fact, it's going to be powering most of the next generation of robotics. If you think about classic robotics, you want them to be like humans, right? The humanoids. They walk around our space, they can hear, they can see, etc. So I think the multimodal models or the any-to-any models are really the most exciting, and I expect by the end of the 2025, all these models I spoke about will be completely mainstream, and before we know it, they'll be around us. That's what I'm excited about.
That's incredible, like truly incredible. And by the way, the speech-to-speech model that Arni was talking about, it's in beta if you want to check it out at the AWS booth. So I wanted to give you a plug for that. So gentlemen, we're at time, and I want to thank you for the insights that you provided here. Hopefully the audience has really been able to ground themselves on the amount of breakthroughs that can happen if you lean into the technology at scale. And I'm just so honored to have heard from Gérard, Devin, Arni, Ira, truly. So I'm going to conclude here with this slide here. If you want to learn more about some of the demonstrations and the use cases that we talked about here, everything is real. So just scan this QR code. It'll take you to our demo showcase. You can take back network diagrams, use cases, videos, back with your teams, explore a little bit more. Our booth is just straight out this doorway. We are W1701. And we also have an AI innovation zone, which is right outside of these doors. As I mentioned before, we're doing a huge activation with Formula One, so I encourage you to get behind some of those esports experiences. You can start to test it out in real time. And if you want to learn more from our partners, I really encourage you to go to the AWS Theater. It's another activation we have. You can see the details on the location here. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention and thank you for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful NAB.